The Jacobsons were the richest family in town, and they paid triple my usual rate. The only catch was their massive, isolated house in the woods, and their son, Leo. Leo was a sweet, quiet 7-year-old, but his parents were intense. Before they left for their gala, Mrs. Jacobson handed me a single typewritten page. "The rules," she said, her face deadly serious. "Follow them exactly. Do not deviate, not even once." The rules were insane. Rule 1. By 8:15 p.m. you must close all the blinds in the house. Do not look into the backyard after this time. Rule 2. If you hear crying from the air vents, turn on all the TVs to any news channel. The crying will stop. Rule 3. Leo's bedtime is 9 p.m. Read him one story. If he asks for a second story, check his eyes. If his pupils are normal, you may. If his pupils are fully dilated, black, leave the room immediately and do not speak to him until morning. Rule 4. At exactly 3:33 a.m., a man in a tan coat will knock on the front door. Do not answer it. He is not a man. I laughed it off. Weird rich people, right? Everything was fine until 8:15. I closed the blinds, but as I shut the last one in the living room, I saw a flicker of movement in the backyard. A tall, pale figure standing perfectly still between the trees. My heart jumped, but I told myself it was a trick of the light. At 9 p.m. I put Leo to bed. He was sweet. "One more story, please?" he asked, smiling. I was about to say yes when I remembered Rule 3. I leaned in, pretending to tuck him in, and looked into his eyes. His pupils were massive, black pools that swallowed up the blue of his irises. A cold dread filled my stomach. I stood up, my smile frozen. "Sorry, Leo, one story is the rule," I said, my voice shaky. His smile vanished instantly. "You looked," he said, his voice flat and cold. He rolled over without another word. I spent the next few hours terrified, jumping at every sound. Then at 3:33 a.m. exactly, 3 firm knocks echoed from the front door. I peeked through the peephole. A man in a long tan coat stood there, his face shadowed by a fedora. My phone was in my hand. I should have called the police, but a part of me, a stupid, arrogant part, thought, what if he's hurt? What if it's a test? I saw the deadbolt. It was a heavy industrial thing. I'll just talk through the door, I thought. What's the harm? I crept to the door. "Who's there?" I called out softly. The knocking stopped. A voice, dry and raspy like scraping stones, answered from the other side. "Thank you." The deadbolt, all on its own, began to slowly turn. I didn't wait to see it open. I ran. I sprinted up the stairs towards Leo's room. It was the only place I could think to go. I burst inside and locked the door, my back against it, panting. The room was dark and silent. Too silent. From the corner of the room, 2 small, perfectly black circles reflected the moonlight coming through the window. Leo was sitting up in his bed staring at me, and he was smiling. "It's okay," little Leo said, but his voice was now the same dry, raspy voice I had heard at the door. "He's not here for you." The doorknob to Leo's room began to jiggle. My new apartment had a beautiful full-length mirror in the hallway. It was an antique, with the ornate, slightly tarnished silver frame. The movers said it came with the place. The first oddity happened a week in. I came home from work exhausted and tossed my keys on the table by the door. In the mirror's reflection, I saw my keys land, but they landed a few inches to the left of where they actually were in real life. I chalked it up to fatigue, but it kept happening. The reflection was always just slightly off. The clock behind me would show a different time. A book on the shelf would be a different color. My reflection would sometimes blink a second after I did. I started avoiding the mirror. One night I couldn't sleep. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water and had to pass the hallway. I kept my eyes straight ahead, but my peripheral vision caught the mirror. My reflection wasn't mimicking me. It was standing perfectly still, staring at me with a wide, unnerving smile. I froze, my blood turning to ice. Slowly, I turned my head to face it fully. The reflection, my reflection, was still smiling, its head tilted. It raised its hand and gave me a slow, deliberate wave. I screamed and stumbled back, scrambling to my bedroom and locking the door. The next day, I called my landlord, demanding to know where the mirror came from. He was hesitant. The previous tenant, he finally said, he was a strange man, a loner. He left in a hurry. He told me he found a way to trap the thing that was mimicking him inside the mirror. My blood ran cold. What happened to him? He said he was finally free, the landlord replied, but he warned me to never ever break the glass. I hung up, my mind reeling. I had to get rid of it. I grabbed a hammer from the toolbox, my hands shaking with a mixture of terror and rage. I marched up to the mirror where my reflection now stood, its smile gone, replaced by a look of pure panic. It was mouthing the word "no" and frantically shaking its head. I didn't care. I swung the hammer. The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces. A wave of freezing air exploded from the frame, and for a single horrifying second I saw a transparent, screaming version of myself get sucked into the space where the mirror used to be. Then everything was still. Relief washed over me. It was over. I went to the bathroom to wash the glass dust from my hands. I looked up at my bathroom mirror, and I realized the horror wasn't over. It had just begun, because the man in the bathroom mirror wasn't me. It was the thing from the hallway mirror, now wearing my face, and it was smiling that same wide, unnerving smile, and I was the one trapped in the dark, silent world behind the glass, screaming without a sound. I pulled the last of the midnight shifts at the old Redwood Star Motel. It was a quiet job, mostly just watching the front desk and listening to the hum of the vending machines. The rule was simple, drilled into me by the day manager. Room 213 is permanently out of order. Under no circumstances do you give anyone a key or even acknowledge it. One night, around 3 a.m., the phone at the desk rang, shattering the silence. "Front desk," I answered, my voice thick with sleep. A soft, staticky voice came through the receiver. "I'm locked out. Room 213. A chill went down my spine. "I'm sorry, sir, that room is out of order." "There's been a mistake," the voice insisted, now sounding closer, as if they were holding the phone in the lobby. "I just need my key." I looked up. The lobby was empty. "I can't do that, sir. It's policy." The line went dead. I tried to shake it off, blaming my tired mind. But 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. "This is room 213. I'm waiting." This time, the voice was clear. It was a child's voice, a little girl. "Please," I said, my voice trembling. "Stop calling." "I'm not calling from the phone," she whispered. And then I heard it. Not through the receiver, but from right behind me. A small, faint whisper from the back office. "I'm right here." I spun around. Nothing. My heart was hammering in my chest. I grabbed the master key ring, my hands shaking. I had to see. I had to prove to myself it was empty. I walked down the long, carpeted hallway to room 213. The out-of-order sign hung crooked on the doorknob. I took a deep breath and slid the key into the lock. It clicked open. I pushed the door slowly. The room was pristine. The bed was made. The TV was off. The curtains were drawn. And sitting on the edge of the bed, facing the wall, was a little girl in a white dress. She didn't move. I let out a sigh of relief. It was just a mannequin, a prank. I took a step into the room to get a better look. And then I felt a small, cold hand slip into mine. I looked down. There was no one there. but I could feel the icy grip tightening. The little girl on the bed hadn't moved, but from right beside me, her voice whispered directly into my ear, her breath frigid. "Thank you for letting me in. Now someone has to take my place." The door slammed shut behind me. The key broke in the lock. And now, I sit here on this pristine bed waiting for the next night shift worker to be foolish enough to open the door. I watch them on the security camera they can't see me in. I listen to them at the front desk. And when the time is right, I pick up the phone and call.